Good evening and welcome to the May edition of Connections. As we usually do, we start with prayer, but just before I come to the prayer, I just invite any of you as you are sharing with us these moments together. If you have any questions, you have any comments, I invite you to post them on YouTube, on Facebook, or on chat. Again, comments and questions are always most welcome. Just submit them to YouTube chat or to Facebook. Let's begin with prayer. This coming weekend, of course, here in the United States will be marked by our Memorial Day weekend. I invite all of us to recall and to remember in prayer those brave women and men who have died for us so that we may be free. We keep them in our prayer. But this weekend, we also celebrate the solemnity of Pentecost. And so the prayer that I would like to offer is a prayer that has been very much linked now to the process of the church during this time of synod, and it is a prayer by which we implore and we ask, we open ourselves to the power of the Holy Spirit. And so let's listen to the prayer being used now in what has become really the prayer in preparation for the synod in the Catholic Church. We stand before you, Holy Spirit, as we gather together in your name, with you alone to guide us. Make yourself at home in our hearts. Teach us the way we must go and how we are to pursue it. We are weak and sinful. Do not let us promote disorder. Do not let ignorance lead us down the wrong path, nor partiality influence our actions. Let us find in you our unity, so that we may journey together to eternal life and not stray from the way of truth and what is right. All this we ask of you, who are at work in every place and time in the communion of the Father and the Son forever and ever. Yes, again, I welcome you to the May edition of Connections. I'd like to begin, of course, as we have established as our pattern, with just a brief review of some highlights that have occurred in the CNEWA world since we were last together, that last time being from the rooftop of the Jattawi Hospital in Beirut on the 24th of April. So I'd like to review a few of those moments, some of the more recent moments that we have been able to experience together, and some of the things that we might be looking forward to as we go toward the future. Since that last meeting, and in a sense, what really was at the very much a part of that visit to the Jattawi Hospital, what preceded that visit to the Jattawi Hospital, was my trip to Rome with a small delegation from the office here in New York. We went to Rome, and there in Rome, we basically did two things. We were there to honor one of the members of our Board of Trustees, His Excellency Bishop William Murphy, Bishop Emeritus of the Diocese of Rockville Center. We were able to do that, as you see here, on the rooftop of the Colby Hotel in Rome. And I really want to express our gratitude to the Colby Hotel and to Peter's Way for the great hospitality and for hosting this event. This event was only possible thanks to Peter's Way and to the Colby Hotel. In the images that you saw, those images included the presence there of His Most Eminent Highness, the Prince and 81st Grand Master of the Sovereign Order of Malta. You see him right there as you're looking at that image on the left, John Dunlap. In addition to that, you see a member also of the Board of Trustees in Marina Perna. She was there, and as well you see there right in front of you now Bishop Murphy and His Eminence Cardinal Dolan, with a number of the others who were present on that rooftop to be able to order him. You see there His Eminence Cardinal Dolan between, to his left, Tresul Singh Conway, our CFO, and to the Cardinal's right, Michael Lasavita, our Director of Communications. It was a wonderful evening in which we were able to spend some time together, as I said, both to honor Bishop Murphy as a member of the Board of Trustees, but also to welcome many of the guests some of which I identified for you and others who were present, so that they would become more aware of the opening shortly of our office, the Rome office of CNEWA, which is going to be within the office of the dicastery for the Oriental churches. So it was a great moment to be able to give some very important recognition and advertisement to what we hope will be a very important part of CNEWA's mission. The responsibility of the office in Rome will be to promote the mission and to engage in fundraising, particularly in Europe and in the Gulf states, and hopefully even moving and turning toward the east. We're very grateful for the chance that we had to be there. Following the visit to Rome, I went on to the island of Cyprus. On the island of Cyprus, a symposium was held there. The symposium had been planned for some time by the ROACO agencies together with the dicastery for the Eastern churches. The purpose of the symposium was to reflect on the state of the church in and throughout the Middle East. This is the place of the birth of the church. So when we anticipate and look toward this coming weekend, the celebration of Pentecost, it was the Holy Spirit that came upon the church gathered in Jerusalem, and from Jerusalem that we are able to see into many of the regions today inhabited by Eastern Christians, which is the mandate of CNEWA, the growth of that early church. And so at the Cyprus Symposium, there in the presence of some 250 representatives from the Eastern churches, the presence of the 7 patriarchs, the religious women and men, lay women and men, all those who are involved in trying to work within the life of the church, to grow the church, were present. Those who represented Christianity in Egypt, in Palestine, in Israel, Jordan, Iraq, Syria, the Gulf states, Lebanon, and Cyprus. A very important gathering to be able to reflect on what we are experiencing, yes, in terms of decrease in population, yes, in terms of religious persecution, yes, in terms of the challenges that come to us because of the religious fundamentalism in some of those areas. Those were parts of it. But the work of CNEWA is the work that really embraces the geographical region from the Nile to the Indus River. And so it was important for those who are involved to gather there and to be able to reflect on the life of the church. And it was a fruitful exercise in our being able to do that. Following the visit in Cyprus, I went on to Beirut to visit our office in Beirut. And in the office in Beirut, I was able not only to spend time with our very brave and heroic staff as they continue to work within 4 regions: Lebanon, Syria, a good part of Iraq, and Egypt. But as you see in the slide in front of you, we were also able to go and have last month's connections there from the rooftop of the Jatawi Hospital in Beirut. That hospital, to a large extent, has been repaired following this horrific explosion of the port in Beirut, thanks to your generosity, thanks to your donations. And what you see there, I'm surrounded to my right, immediately to my right, by Patriarch Manassian. And then, of course, next to him, the director of our office in Beirut, Michel Constantin, and Marlene Constantin, to my right. And to my left, one of the religious women, the sister who is in charge of the hospital, the Jatawi Hospital, and there followed by Rita and by Imad from our own office in Beirut. It was a wonderful opportunity there for me to report to you, but also to spend a little time there in the hospital visiting the work that has been done to repair the damage to that hospital, thanks to you, and we're very grateful to you. And so following the time in Beirut, it was a time to return back here to New York, and some of the ongoing efforts that we are making in terms of the work that was being done hit one of the highlights last week. Last week, we were able to initiate the inaugural annual CNEWA Who is My Neighbor Golf Classic. I'm hoping that this is going to be a very important tradition that we will be able to start. That is, to have an opportunity to organize these golf classics. The Golf Classic gives an opportunity not only for us to be able, and most importantly for us, to be able to expand networks, develop relationships, be able to see where new partners can come from the relationships that are made and the way in which we're able to cultivate these opportunities. Of course, the Golf Classic itself was a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to see an increase, again, in revenue. And these are fundraisers. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity here in the slide that you're looking at. And immediately to my right, Anthony McLaughlin. Anthony McLaughlin most courageously, most generously, and most selflessly served as the chair of the committee to coordinate all of the efforts for the Golf Classic that was initiated last week and took place last Thursday, on May 18th. I am very grateful to Anthony for the work that he did in pulling together all the work that goes into, and perhaps many of you are familiar, the amount of work that goes into putting together a golf event. And so to Anthony, to the Lady Volunteers Committee that was there, to Brian Finley, who is the president of the board for the Plan Dome Country Club. And I'm grateful to the entire staff of the Plan Dome Country Club for the way in which they hosted with such elegance the work of CNEWA there, and under the leadership of the chair, Anthony McLaughlin, who represented not only the chair, but also, as I said, selected those ladies who were part of the team as the volunteers from Long Island and Westchester, and they played such an important role in making this event happen, making this event possible. Along with, of course, the team that came for us, that was with us from Long Island, I am grateful and use this opportunity to express my gratitude to the CNEWA team. The CNEWA team here, led by Rihanna Daniels, who was really our representative and our liaison to the ladies volunteers. And in particular, I want to thank the way in which the ladies worked so hard together between the Ladies Volunteer Committee from Long Island and from the Plan Dome Country Club, and with the CNEWA team that worked from here, with Rihanna, and a long time, a lot of the work that was also done here in providing all of the visuals that we were able to see and experience there, along with what you're seeing here in terms of the slides which have come forth that came with Tim McCarthy. As you know, Tim is the chair of the Creative Services Department, and along with the chief representative of our IT team that was present there, Nelson Salcedo. So I want to really thank the people, all the people from the development team here, from Creative Services here, from IT here, the Ladies Volunteers Committee from Plan Dome. There you see one of them, Olga. Olga was part of the ladies team that worked with us in terms of trying to make this possible. And so under, again, the leadership of Anthony McLaughlin, I think we were able to launch a really great inaugural annual golf outing, and hopefully these will be followed by many more. Good times were shared by all. Here you're getting different shots, different moments that captured that golf outing. Here near the end of the day, where you see both the reception that we had there at the Plan Dome Country Club, and also there what you was looking at was several contests that were held at the end of the event. Some of the golfers who were present here, I thank them as we had a dinner to conclude the evening. And one of the important parts of the dinner was here again, an opportunity next to my right, Tresul Singh Conway, our CFO, and of course to Tresul's right from Westchester, where you see Mr. Knowles, who was present there and representing part of the delegation that came to us from Westchester, all of us being gathered here for this very important inaugural event. And the inaugural event is something which for me is very important. I hope that those of you who are watching, if you're golfers and you want to think in terms of next year, that's great. Please let us know how you might be able to be involved in helping us with regard to our event that we will be scheduling for next year, and certainly letting us know. Near the conclusion, of course, of the dinner, or a very important part of the dinner, was the presentation that you see there, where we had, and I was very grateful to the way which this was done. Rihanna, who was the liaison from our team here to the team on Long Island to Plan Dome, making the presentation to Anthony McLaughlin as the chair of the event. So again, thank you for everyone who was involved in that. All these events are about one thing. They're about mission. And certainly one of the things that we did there during the course of the golf event, in particular during the course of the dinner, was to be able to we enjoyed a beautiful day. We enjoyed good time together. The golfers, of course, enjoyed the events the sporting event that it was, but it was also an opportunity for us to do another PowerPoint presentation. And in the PowerPoint presentation, to be able to just review what I have reviewed, but there are some new things I'd like to just share with you here this evening, because I was able to share this PowerPoint presentation last week and was able to discuss this, and variations of this will be used at a couple of upcoming events. So it's important for us to just be aware, as the golfers and the committees that were involved and everybody who was involved at every level of sponsorship, of donation, and of presence, and of the work that was done by everyone doing this together, we were able to be there and to, again, just reinforce the mission. In the end, it's all about mission. Everything we do is about the mission. Our prayer, our dissemination of information by way of advocacy, and our fundraising. This all converges on mission. And what you're seeing on that slide right in front of you is, for me, perhaps the most important phrase. We all seek to be agents of hope. Where? In those places that you see on the map that is in front of you. Those are the places where CNEWA operates either through our offices. You know where our offices are over the times now that we have been able to meet during these connections. We've spoken about the offices. You've met a number of members of the staff, the directors of the offices, and also there in the Eastern Europe, you see where we work with our partners in Ukraine. And I'm very concerned, as we all are, about the situation and the horrific circumstances which continue to be the story of the martyrdom of Ukraine. To this day and to this hour, I ask you to pray for those brave, heroic women and men in Ukraine who continue to stand up for the integrity of their nation state. But in addition to Ukraine, we are also working with our partners. We are also working with our partners in Georgia and Armenia. What do we do? Basically, three things. First, we accompany the church. We accompany the church because CNEWA never works in isolation. CNEWA never works alone. No, CNEWA and Pontifical Mission, we are always working to accompany the church with the local church. Here you see the work that we are doing and how we are involved in the formation of religious women here in India. The visit in January gave me the opportunity to visit several of these communities of religious women, these young women who are so dedicated to try to work within the charism of their own religious community, and we work with them because they're on the ground and they're the first ones who can identify and know what the needs are of the local people. I'm grateful to the religious women that we can work with. Here, of course, you see the role and one of the things that CNEWA is involved in, and that is with the formation of seminarians for priesthood. These are seminarians being formed as they prepare to serve the church as priests in Ukraine. And here again with religious women here serving the church in Iraq. In my visit to Iraq a year and a half ago, it was an opportunity to visit and to support, your donation, your prayers were able to support the religious women here in Iraq. Sorry. And then finally here in this one other moment of accompanying the church, it's accompanying of the church in Ethiopia. And one of the areas that right now is undergoing such challenge, whether because of the economic conditions and the poverty, because of the violence still from the Tigray region, which thanks be to God has let up a little, because one of the great challenges in Ethiopia now, of course, is the Sudan conflict. People who had gone from Eritrea into Sudan are returning into Ethiopia. Ethiopians who had gone into Sudan are returning to Ethiopia. And the Sudanese who are trying to get out of the conflict and the horrors of the violence in Sudan are also coming into Ethiopia. It presents a challenge for us. I thank you for your prayers, for your advocacy, and for your humanitarian support, which allow us to help the people in Ethiopia. And the work that continues beyond the accompaniment of the church, the work that we're doing also for the humanitarian efforts that we are making, whether here in this very delicate scene with the religious and the elderly, where we're trying to work, or in the humanitarian efforts that we're making as we try to move into other regions. So beyond what you see here in terms of the work that is going on in Lebanon, you also see the ways in which we respond to human needs in such places that here, these other slides certainly communicate, again, in Lebanon, where we are involved. You see there, even thanks to you, the CNEWA logo on the food boxes that are being distributed by our team from Beirut. And this is going on every day. This is not an isolated event. This is an operation that is going on through the different centers that we have in Beirut. The way in which we are constantly at work caring for children. One of the things that, again, will remind you of is the care for the needy children that we'll be initiating in our next campaign. But here you have an example of how we're trying to care for them. And of course, here again, the work that is being done in the same hospital back in Lebanon, where the Jatawi Hospital, where we're trying to work and have been working prior to the blast and since the blast that took place in the port in Lebanon. In the situation that you see of this young girl here, one of the things, and I know I've said this before, but I repeat it again here, these people who are suffering in the places where we work have undergone trauma, horrific trauma. And so in addition to the most important immediate emergency needs of shelter and food, we also need to be giving, in the case of that young child, psychosocial support. In the case of the children that you're looking at here, it is also a matter of one other instance of where CNEWA is working to protect those victims of human trafficking. And this is an example of where that was happening in Ethiopia. And here you are seeing the work that is being done for migrants in Amman, in Jordan. And in this instance here, working with migrants, working with those who are being trafficked, and working with those who are in need of psychosocial support is the ongoing work of CNEWA wherever we are. In the slide that you're looking at here, you have the opportunity to really see our full office from Jerusalem. And the team in Jerusalem, when I had the opportunity to visit that team with our CFO, Tresul, and with our director of programs, Thomas Vorgese, we were able to spend time with the team in Jerusalem and the great work that they're doing in all the areas that we're talking about. And in addition to that, the work we're doing in Palestine, the work we're doing in Israel, and the work we're doing out on the Gaza Strip, which becomes an important place for us. Yes, the final area that we look at, of course, is the area of emergency campaigns. The emergency relief that we had to deal with some years ago in ISIS, when their attack in Iraq, the emergency that we had to deal with COVID, the emergency that we had to deal with the port in Beirut. And here you see, of course, through the Beirut office, the work that we continue to do following the earthquake in Syria and in Turkey. And here in the one that you saw, the slide previous to this, you saw the devastation caused by the earthquake, the devastation of the buildings. Here, the director of our office in Beirut is bringing food supplies and other emergency needs to the people who are suffering as victims of the earthquake in Syria. Here, the ongoing work and support that we're giving, that CNEWA, working with our partners, are giving to the people in Ukraine and to the people in Ukraine who continue to suffer. Here, though, you see a very, very powerful, a very delicate slide where the director of our office in Ethiopia, together with the religious women at this particular location, are trying to provide food and medicine for those most in need in Ethiopia. And I'm very grateful for the team that has worked there, very grateful for the way in which they recognize when you see thank you, CNEWA, that's thank you to you, the donors who make possible what CNEWA is doing in all the places that we are visiting. And so I'm very grateful for, and I ask you to please journey with us during this time and in these places, whether it is accompanying the church, bringing humanitarian aid, or responding to the crisis situations in the emergency situations that we are involved in, that we are engaged in every day. Please join us as agents of hope. That is my great cry. That is my great plea at this particular time. As we look to the future, before we come to the future, I just want to share with you very briefly, and I hope to report on it maybe the next time, a visit that I made to one of the archdiocesan high schools here yesterday. One of the visits that has been very, very fruitful has always been the visit to young people, to high school students, young women, young men of the future who are very much involved in and engaged in the mission of CNEWA and want to hear more and more about the humanitarian assistance that CNEWA is giving through you in the name of the church. But what touches them, it is not limited to anyone. The recipients of your donations are everybody. Is everyone, regardless of your faith, regardless of your gender, regardless of your age. It makes no difference. We are there to help, to bring your help, your prayers, your advocacy, and your humanitarian support. We also have the opportunity now down at the Sheen Center to be able to visit, coming really by popular demand, the art exhibit, which is going on there now from May 15th until June 15th. I would ask you, if you have the opportunity to get down there, you will see the art that had been commissioned for one magazine. When it first started, of course, in 1974, it was the Catholic Near East. Now it is one magazine. That art commissioned for the work of CNEWA between 1989 and 2022 is on exhibit between May 15th and June 15th down at the Sheen Center for Thought and Culture, which is located at 18 Bleecker Street. So if you're looking maybe for something to do during the Memorial Day weekend, you're coming into the city, you might want to go down to the Sheen Center and be able to see the CNEWA art that is all there. I also want to just bring to your attention our upcoming second annual gala dinner. Please make your reservations now for December 5th. It's going to be in Manhattan at a private club. It's going to be a great affair, as was the one that we had last year. In addition to the great event that it was and that it will be again, we're also going to have a car raffle. Very soon, I'm hoping within the next one or two of these reports to you through my connections to be able to let you know when the car raffle in preparation for the December 5th gala event is going to be made available to you. In addition, just to bring to your attention, CNEWA and Pontifical Mission will be celebrating its 75th anniversary in the offices in the Middle East. That is, in Beirut, in Jerusalem, in Amman. And so it's another moment of celebration for CNEWA, for the great work that CNEWA has been doing for the past, it'll be 75 years in the year 2024. And so it's something that we celebrate as we approach that. CNEWA, as I've mentioned here before, will be moving toward the celebration of its centennial. CNEWA Centennial, we were founded in 1926. As we move toward the centennial celebration in 2026, I invite all of you again, please join us in that particular moment. Think of ways in which you might want to suggest, recommend, write to me directly and let me know what you might be thinking CNEWA could do to celebrate its centennial celebration, its 100th anniversary in the service of the church throughout the Middle East and in India and in Eastern Europe. These are great moments for us, and I ask you to be part of it. I will let you know also, just to share with you, the next direct campaign appeal is going to be for the children in need. The children in need, and you see them in all the slides, practically all the slides that I do show. This will be directed toward all those institutions where CNEWA and Pontifical Mission is working, where children are involved. Schools, poverty, the growing horror of human trafficking. During the time of my visit to Cyprus for the symposium, I was also brought to one place. We weren't able to get into another place, a camp where there is attempts to give protection to the ongoing increasing difficulty throughout the Mediterranean of the violence that is done in the crime of human trafficking. CNEWA is there to protect the victims. We need your help. We need your prayers. We need your advocacy. We need your generous donations. I am so grateful to you for those prayers, that advocacy, and especially your donations. Please, whatever your means allow with regard to our next campaign, the direct mail campaign to the children in need in our institutions, I ask you to help us. Finally, and the next the next program will come from the field where we're working. I look forward to reporting back to you in June from that field, from the operation where we are. For tonight, I thank Tim McCarthy. I thank Nelson Salcedo for his presence here, and Nick Lopez and Hein Gatsoa, the team that has made this evening possible. No, what's made this evening possible are those guys for sure, and you. Thank you.